everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Bob here, and in today's video we have two really cool watches in from Avi-8. We have the Hawker Hurricane as well as the Avi-8 Flyboy. These have both been sent in from Aaron Dunlap. He's done videos on both, so has Chris Marshall. After I am finished reviewing them, we will be sending them along to Scott at Watches Galore and I believe Peter Von Panda, so make sure you check out their channels. Links can be found in the description below. So with that being said, let's spin the camera around. We'll take a closer look at the watches. So in the background, we have the packaging that comes with Avi-8 watches. We have the outer, just a cardboard box. We have the warranty card, instruction manual, as well as hang tag. And then with keeping with the military aviation theme that Avi-8's going with, we have this really nice display box with Avi-8 on top. And the one thing I like about this box, you'll see I have the Flyboy in there at the moment. The one thing I like about this box, though, is the pillow fills the entire box, so when this thing is being shipped to you, or if you happen to be traveling with this box, the watch isn't going to be knocked around. It's really nice and secure in there. So the watch we're going to start off with, though, is the Hawker Hurricane, and I'm going to just throw some numbers at you here. So the case size on this watch is 42 millimeters. We have a lug to lug just a touch over 53 millimeters. The lug width is 22 millimeters, and the case thickness is 13 millimeters. The water resistance is 50 meters, and the watch is housing a Japanese quartz chronograph movement, which I believe is a Seiko movement. Now, I'm not 100% sure on the crystal, but I think it's a hardened mineral crystal. It does have a slight dome, and it gives you a nice little distortion when looking at it from different angles. The dial is a little on the busy side, but I find it is very well executed. The dial has 3 layers with some nice texturing on the bottom layer. We have a date window at 4 o'clock and the 3 subdials, with the top subdial at 12, really giving this watch its personality. So let me just fire up the chronograph here for a second for you guys. And for me, the coolest thing about this watch is that colorful 1/10 of a second subdial ticking away. As at 6 o'clock, we have the seconds counter, and at 9 is the minutes counter for the chronograph function. And I'll stop and reset. It's really fun to see the 1/10 of a second subdial snap back to 0 there. The hands, as well as the applied hour markers, are loomed. It's not the strongest loom out there, but it's not bad. And I think what I'll do is I'll throw a loom shot of both this and the second watch we're going to be taking a look at the end of the video. The case has a really cool design, and I love how they've combined this circular case with these very angular lugs. Gives it a really nice side profile to me. It's nicely finished, and the other touch that I like is this little pop of color here on the crown. I'm not sure if you can make that out. There's some red and blue in there. If we flip the watch over, you'll see we have some etch work done with a really nice image of the Hawker Hurricane. The watch is paired perfectly with this nice tan strap. Stitch work is very well done, very even and crisp. The strap itself is a little bit stiff, but I have to say some of the best straps, the leather straps in particular that I've ever owned, were very stiff at first, but once you break them in, they're quite comfortable. The hardware is nice and solid. We have here signed the Avi-8 logo on the buckle. So before we take a look at the Flyboy, let's pop this on wrist here for a second. All right, so on wrist, the Hawker Hurricane has a lot of presence. I've actually been asked twice about this watch in public, which for me barely ever happens. I love the build quality, feels really solid. It might not be for everybody, but I just love that Avi-8 as a brand has stuck to their guns with their aviation themed watches. I quite like the look of this and a whole lot of other watches in their lineup. So speaking of their other watches, let's take a look at the Avi-8 Flyboy. So right away with the Flyboy versus the Hawker Hurricane, you'll see that the Flyboy has a much more modern take on an aviation-inspired watch. I'm going to just hit you guys with some of the specifications on this one, and we'll start off with the case width. So the case width here, we are looking at 42 millimeters. The lug to lug is 48 millimeters. We have a lug width of 22 millimeters, and the thickness here is 12 millimeters. The water resistance is the same as the previous watch at 50 meters, and the Flyboy is housing a Miyota automatic movement. It's unfortunately non-hacking. It has been keeping pretty good time though since I've had it. The dial is a flat black, very clean dial with crosshairs printed through the middle in dark gray. We have Avi-8 printed at 12 and automatic just above the date window at the 6 o'clock position. The handset is big and bold. I really like the splash of red at the tip of the second hand where we have that plain shape. I think that looks awesome. The hour, minute, hand, and all hour markers are loomed. Like I mentioned before, I'll throw a shot of both watches, a loom shot of both watches up at the end of the video. This one is a little bit stronger than the previous watch, and it has a really cool blue tone. The case is PVD coated in black. It's not polished, but I wouldn't quite call it brushed either. Almost has that bead blasted look to it. The crown design makes for easy manipulation and has very good grip, and you'll see we have a nice little circular pattern on the crown as well. If we flip the watch over, you'll see we have an exhibition case back. The movement is undecorated other than the black rotor where it says Flyboy, as well as the case back itself has Avi-8 printed in chrome. So this particular model comes with two strap options, one being the blue NATO that we have on the watch right now. Has some very nice hardware, matches perfectly with the case color. You'll see the buckle is also signed with the Avi-8 logo. The second option is this really thin leather NATO. It has the identical hardware. Both of these I find look fantastic on this watch, although I kind of prefer the blue. So let's check it out on wrist. So for me, stylistically, I think I prefer this particular watch over the other. Both are great for the price. It's just a personal preference. And I love the little extras that you get with some watches. For example, with this one, getting the extra strap to pair with your watch. The other thing that I love about Avi-8 as a brand is how they've embraced the watch community at such a grassroots level. I think it says a lot about a company that they are willing to take the risk to send their product to small YouTubers and reviewers like myself and some of the other guys on the tour. To do that, they really have to stand behind their product, and I really respect Avi-8 for doing that. So far, I've been very happy with the Avi-8 watches that I've been able to check out, and these are no exception. They're both great watches, especially for this price point. So let's spin the camera around. We'll wrap up today's video. Alright guys, so that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Both of these, if anybody's considering, they're great watches and I definitely recommend them. Thanks so much for stopping by the channel. Always appreciated, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.